Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 321. Well, happy belated Thanksgiving. I trust you had a marvelous holidays with all your friends and loved ones. Lots to be given thanks to. And I can't thank you enough for taking some time. Now it's gone back to a work week to sit there and give me a little listen. And of course, some of you guys send a lot of love, and I'm very grateful. So thank you ever so much. I want to thank my good friend at Bedford's Camera, bedfords.com. You guys pounded them for that Black Friday deals. By the way, why is it called Black Friday here? Other countries, call it royal blue and other things. We call it black. Anyway, that's a whole nother story, right? Or question. Hey, back to Bedford's. You know they got the Z9 in stock, that amazing camera, my favorite camera of all time. They've got that in stock. They've got some great inventory. And, of course, now it's the official Christmas buying season. You might just want to gift yourself something really cool. So Bedfords.com, they've got the expertise, they got the inventory, they got the killer service. Give them a call. Click on the link. Remember to use that special discount code MOOSE. Save yourself some serious money. Thank you, Bedfords, for being there and supporting the Moose Podcast and photographers around the country. I want to get right into this week's podcast. FOMO. Now, when I first heard, or I should say saw FOMO, I got to tell you, I was like, man, where's Brent and Jake? I need someone to explain this one to you, old man. You know, some of the abbreviations and stuff they use in texting goes flying over my head. And then when I found out that FOMO meant, I'm like, okay, this is one I can actually relate to. I mean, I remember all too well starting out over 40 years ago, sitting in my office, definitely feeling sorry for myself, driving myself nuts, thinking about all the photographic opportunities I was missing. And boy, the FOMO was thick. And, back then, there were some legitimate reasons why I was not out shooting 365 24/7. That little thing like time and money, or money and time, they really were on the short supply when I started out, like for most photographers. And I got to be honest, back then, there was a real lack of some talent and technique. Passion was burning. That's what got the FOMO burning. But I had a classic case of FOMO, fear of missing out. Now, that fear of missing out, it's a deadly thing. It's a bad thing. I got to thinking about it a lot last week, or the week before, I guess, when I was in Yellowstone and watching some people drive up and down the road so bloody fast because they had heard something was being seen or photographed at this, that, the other end of the road where they weren't. And they're driving like mad people to get there because of the fear of missing out. You read Rick McIntyre's book, the fourth one, which just put on bookshelves. He actually talks about one instance where, point blank, photographers were causing grievous problems on the road, blocking wolves. They couldn't get to their pups, and they kept paralleling the wolves' movement on the road, so they couldn't get across until finally a really great photographer, Tom Murphy, yelled at him to hold still because the wolves were trying to cross the road. And everybody goes, oh, yeah. That fear of missing out. It is deadly. It is deadly. It's deadly because a lot of common sense goes out the window with that fear, Like Roosevelt said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. If we were to get past that, would we get past FOMO? Well, talking only about myself here, I, I learned the hard way. I'm here to tell you, I learned the hard way. I'm passing it along to you so you don't have to make the same stupid mistakes I made back in the day. That fear of missing out, often I would have something in front of me I'm photographing, and it starts to wane, as in maybe the light isn't as good as when I first got there. Maybe the critter is further away than it was. It's traveling on a path that takes it further from what I want to accomplish. Maybe, I mean, the examples go on and on and on about how something in my mind set off FOMO. And rather than sticking with what I had in front of me, I went looking for something that might be better. And boy, 9 times out of 10, I would go in search of that something better, only to find out that I left the best in the first place. And by the time I got back, that was gone. So I have, I mean, sometimes I'll stick with something that I have rather than trying to go for something I'm hoping for, to the detriment of not getting, perhaps that opportunity that I thought I should go, because 9 times out of 10, that FOMO sets in, and wow, I come back with nothing. Now, fear of missing out. That is, if you think about the roots of it, it comes from a couple things. One is because we have this, I want to say, misguided feeling or idea that, be it ourselves, our camera gear, the situation, the subject, we have this, uh, real mental block that it's not as good as it could be, that somebody else's, lawn is greener than ours. And that by changing one or all of those scenarios, we will then accomplish and get the photograph that we think we want, deserve, need, could get. And at the end of the day, we look at our scenarios, we look at the final results on the computer monitor, and we kind of, like, at least I do, tend to regret that moment that I did have, I didn't make the most of, because I thought there might be something better. That is probably in part FOMO, and might be in part our desire to actually improve our photography. But here's the thing, at least as I see it. When a good example, Nikon just announced and started shipping the Z 600 f4 with the built 1.4 teleconverter. It's built in. The lens, spectacular, okay? Just off the charts. And there is absolutely no doubt that, especially when I had another really talented photographer reach and ask me what I'm going to do. He'd already asked about the Z 800 6.3. Then he asked about the 600 f4 and asked what I was going to do, because he knows I have the 800 5.6 AFS. There is absolutely no doubt that FOMO creeped in. And I'm like, wow, here's the greatest, latest and greatest. I should abandon what I already know is great and go after the new one. Go, give up on something that's it's already been paid for and has paid for itself many times over, and put out the capital and start this. And my mind starts going, and then it's like reality strikes. It's like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? You've already got the lens that does the job, that solves the problems. What are you thinking? I think a lot of gear purchases are based in some part to FOMO, fear of missing out, fear of the next person having the lens that you don't have, and then what, blaming that lens not having it for you're not getting the photograph? We all know that's poppycock, right? I mean, when we rationalize and think about it, We know that that's not the case. Not having this lens, this body, this tool, that filter is not the reason why we don't have the photograph. Now, if we were to not be so competitive, perhaps, maybe not be so aggressive in that whole approach, then maybe fear of missing out would no longer be a fear. It would just be acknowledgement that there is really grand things out there. And perhaps we put a spin on it that knowing those grand things are out there, we could work towards if they really are meant to be to get there. Let me give you a practical example. I've been photographing prairie chickens for, wow, a long time. And sage grouse, even longer, at least uh, 30 years, maybe a little bit longer. And the time to photograph them on elect is a very small window. And there are some years when I lived in the Eastern Sierra and I literally had a sage grouse lek at the bottom of the hill. I wouldn't get there, and it drove me nuts. So I have, along with other projects that I did not get to back 40 years ago when I didn't have that time and money, like I mentioned, I've been working towards them. Now, the greater prairie chicken, oh, God, what a great bird. Have a marvelous place up in the sandhills of Nebraska, just Shangri-La to photograph them, which with COVID and other things has not been available to me. And I would like to go and photograph them again. I just, with newer technologies like the Z9, shooting all those frames per second, there are little nuances in their biology that I can capture, could not before. There's one of the reasons why I want to go. Now, Fish and Wildlife Service just listed the lesser prairie chicken. So not the greater, not the lesser. And its range is like Zippo, this little spot in Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas and Mexico, and that's like it. It's been wiped out everywhere else it lives. And it lives in totally different kind of world where the greater prairie chickens in Nebraska, photographing them in snow was like a really big goal, which I got to do finally. These guys live around cactus, totally different kind of world. So now they're being listed as endangered. That doesn't mean that just because they're been listed that they're going to blink out, but it wasn't happening for the last 10, 15 years, the slow decline of their population. But now they're listed and instantly FOMO kicked in. I'm like, I got to get there. I don't want to miss out. That fear of missing out is just like almost paralyzing. When I took a deep breath, thought about it, and went back to the basics, which often really can help with FOMO. I started looking at the opportunities and start planning towards making things happen. And that's kind of the whole point of the podcast. This fear of missing out, driving quickly down a road. And boy, you read book 4 of Rick McIntyre's book and you realize somebody was driving fast through Yellowstone and hit a bison and killed it. Wow. Not only is that, driving fast, but can you imagine the dent that thing left in a car? I mean, boy, wow. But, driving fast killed something. And fear of missing out can kill your photography. Seriously. So how else can you deal with that FOMO? Well, one of the biggest things is to have just some confidence. Not talking about a ton of confidence, just some. Just some confidence in who you are as a photographer, who you are as a person, who you are as a money manager, a time consultant, just confidence a little bit in what life experiences you have at that point in time, and then call those up and rely on them with some confidence. When it comes to buying gear, don't be in fear that just because you don't have it, you're not getting the photographs. Probably is not the case. I bet, because I know from personal experience that if you really want the photograph, you're going to make the gear you've got work the best it can. And while, yes, that photograph can be improved on, because literally every photograph we take can always be improved on. There is no such thing as a perfect photograph. There's some really good ones, there's some really great ones. There's no perfect one. That process of learning is just going to make you a better photographer. So then when you know that that piece of gear that you need, not that you want because of fear of missing out, but you need it, when you have that piece of gear, you're going to make the most of it. The same with any technique, whether it be at the camera or at the computer. Any opportunity you go out and seek, any critter or coin collection or plane or landscape, whatever it happens to be. If you just have a little confidence in yourself, you'll get past that FOMO and you can then take the next big steps forward, making the most of what you've got. And then you know that you are maximizing your passion behind that camera. I mean, FOMO is a state of mind directly affecting our passion. Make the most of the opportunities life presents. What fills that viewfinder? What fills your heart? What combines those two? And I'm here to tell you, your photography will improve. You guys have a marvelous week. And remember to make every click your story.